Like I said, he's a real-life rancher. He's a cowboy culture historian and cowboy poet. In 2014, won the Silver Medallion for Cowboy Poetry at the Will Rogers Medallion Awards in Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah. His book, Buckaroo Poetry, I don't know, you might have that here tonight to sign and sell. We have to ask him about that. Was nominated for Poetry Book of the Year by the Western Music Association. I give you P.W.
Thanks, Steve Deming, for getting up here first so I could do this too. This is Buckaroo Poetry, Cowboy Poems for Young and Old. And luck would have it, I do have a couple of copies. See me after the show, I don't care. Anyway, a lot of talk about horses tonight. I was thinking about it, and I know that, we all love horses and everything, and through our lifetime, we probably set more than one horse. And, gosh darn it, no matter how much we love them all, there's always that one certain horse. And I kind of refer to it as your forever horse. And it's the one you never forget. Might have been your first one, might have been the last one you had. For me, it was an old, stubborn, mean, happy mare that had been abandoned and thrown out in a field somewhere, and somehow we got together. And anyway, so I wrote this poem. It's in my book.
What book?
As luck would have it. And it's called Me and Wanda Jean. So we just kind of found each other, me and Wanda Jean. We was both a little lost, and I reckon we was both just a little mean. We was both a little barn sour. Been pinned up way too long. And without no real direction. A critter can just go wrong. Like the very first time I saddled her up, she jerked me to the ground. And the second time I held my own until she settled down. We'd both been down some pretty rough trail, old Wanda Jean and me, but it weren't long before we figured out that, we was meant to be. So we crossed them creeks and we climbed them hills just to see the other side. And we'd gaze upon what God had made and be filled with humble pride. We'd ride them trails from dawn to dusk, chase some cows along the way, then we'd bunk beneath a twisted tree until the night became the day. And I'd sit there by the fire, and I'd tell her about my schemes, the ones that would never happen, and all the broken dreams. And she'd just keep chewing that fresh green grass, and she'd whinny now and then. With big brown eyes a shining bright, that old girl was my best friend. Well, as the time went by, we rested more. Her trot slowed way down. And I swear I think them stirrups was getting further from the ground. She was getting a little long in the tooth. My hair was turning gray, but we both still had a few trails left before we called it a day. In time, we traveled flatter ground. Her flanks was getting thin. And I'd rub her ears and reminisce about the places that we'd been, about the sunsets on the mountain, and all the beauty that we'd seen. We had ourselves a time, me and Wanda Jean. And she closed her eyes for the very last time beneath that twisted tree. Many a day it shaded us, Wanda Jean and me. And I laid down by the fire and I drifted off to sleep. And I dreamt of all them times we had and all the memories I'd keep. And I saw us riding down the trail, and we were young and strong and free. And I know we'll ride again someday. Wanda Jean and me. Sorry about that. It's been a while since I said that once. I better check the happy meter over here. I know we got some rodeo folks in here. I tried it once. Yeah, enough said about that. But anyway, I like to think of myself, I'm a pretty good old cowboy. And I can ride and rope some too. But there was just one thing that I'd never done, that I'd always wanted to do. As a young buckaroo, I never forgot the first time I seen the show. And from that day on, I always wanted to ride in the rodeo. I saw them boys on saddle broncs leaping for the sky, and I knew right then there'd come a day when I'd have to try. I seen a fellow leap from his horse and bring a steer down to the ground. And many a time I wondered if I could bring one down. I seen a lot of rides and wrecks. The best cowboys come and go. And still I wondered, deep inside, if I could rodeo. Well, as the years went by, I figured out that I was running out of time. And I'd best just get her done before I'm past my prime. So I set my mind and I packed my gear and I figured I'd take a chance. And I looked up Mr. Billy T at the Bucking T-Bar Ranch. Now, Billy T had been a rodeo clown and a bullfighter extraordinaire. And he took to raising rough stock for the rodeos in county fair. Well, I told him of my schemes and dreams since that day I was a boy, about how riding in the rodeo would be my greatest joy. He said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because if you really do, you're going to have to cowboy up, because I got just the bull for you." Now, old 519, he's been around, and he's as tricky as he come. But if you think you can handle him, you can ride him just for fun. Now, I know you ride horses, and you can cowboy pretty fair. But riding bulls is another thing. But I'll let you if you dare. Well, I thought to myself as I swallowed hard, it was time to do or die. So I looks old Billy right in his eyes. I says, "I'll give that bull a try." So they brought him out, old 519, and they run him in the chutes. Billy handed me some spurs and had me strap him to my boots. Well, I took a breath and I climbed the gate and I sits down nice and slow. Billy says, "Before you ride him, there's a few things you should know." He says, "Keep them toes pointed out and keep them heels in tight and let your free arm balance you. It'll keep you centered right. You'll come out of bucking to your left and he'll turn back into your hand and you just slide your backside to where you think he's going to land. Just ride him hard, don't look down, or you'll end up in the dirt. It ain't the ride, it's painful something. It's the get 'em that'll hurt." Well, I tucked my chin and I yelled, "Let her buck!" And that gate just swung out wide, and I couldn't catch my breath at all, no matter how I tried. He started jumping a little bit. Well, a crow hop, some might say. He tried to get me off his back, but this was going to be my day. Yes, indeed. My free arm flopping all around, and my hat flew from my head. Heck, I knew it wasn't pretty, but at least I wasn't dead. He started twisting to the left, and he turned back the other way. He started picking up the pace, but I was ready for the fray. Well, I reckon he finally had enough, and he put me on the ground, and I landed pretty hard, and Lord, it made an ugly sound. And then I seen him turn towards me. And he was big and mean and black. And my heart was in my throat as I laid there on my back. And he put his head down close to me, and I could smell his evil breath. With those old black eyes staring down. God, I knew I was facing death. And then he scuffed his hoof, and he snorted. And that's when I started to pray. Then that old bull just licked my face and turned and walked away. Now, Billy T was a laughing hard, and all the boys was a poking fun. That old bull's name was Tinkerbell, and he was as gentle as he come. But to me, he'll always be old 519, the baddest of the bad, the meanest bull that ever was, the greatest ride I ever had. I was going to say another sad poem, but it's kind of hard after that one. You know, all my poetry poetry comes from, they're all true. They're all come from real true stories, well, except for the ones I make up. So, you know, my friends ask me, I live out there, I live in Reagan country. Okay? I don't mean to, you know, that's just me. I live out there near the Reagan Library. I'm in Simi Valley. We got some ranches out there. And my friends, some of my city friends, they'll ask me, they'll say, what's it like being a cowboy? I don't know, but if I find one, I'll ask you. Now, I tell them the truth. I said, you know what? It weren't much of a life, so some folks say. But I wouldn't have had it any other way. Pushing cows and getting dirty, I reckon it didn't look too pretty. Riding drag, fixing fence. Sometimes it didn't make much sense, but the good Lord let me make my choice. On a quiet prayer, I could hear his voice. He showed me mountains that glittered gold, clear blue lakes of icy cold. I seen eagles flying in the air and bear cubs playing without a care. I've seen blistering days and cold winter nights, a calf being born, barroom fights, prairie grass gently waving, wolf pups in the meadows misbehaving. I've seen longhorns walking single file while they'd be stretched out for at least a mile. But it weren't all fun. There was pain and tears, like when I lost that old mare I'd had for years. She was pretty on me when I broke her to ride, and it broke my heart when she finally died. There was times she was my only friend, but at the Rainbow Bridge, we'll ride again. I'm going to miss the smell of campfire smoke, so thick that it would make you choke. With mesquite embers are burning bright as the morning turned from dark to light, coffee on the coals and beans are burning and the smell of bacon needing turning. But this cowboy life, truth be told, can take a young man and make him old. With the open range for a bunkhouse and the prairie for a bed, starry sky for a blanket, saddle for my head. I've seen it all, both bad and good. You know, I'd do it all again if only I could. So here's to all the trails that we've been on, all the hands that have come and gone, all the ponies we broke on the road, and yeah, all the times that we got throwed. Here's to all the glory and the strife. Here's to all the boys and the cowboy life. Thank you all very much.